What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick. I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. Bam, 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 Cactus here, and today we are gonna be taking a look at two heavy-hitting exotic weapons. These two weapons have really skyrocketed into the meta with the introduction of the, well, frankly, I believe, best seasonal artifact mod for PvE, Particle Deconstruction. This makes linear fusion rifles and fusion rifles, when they deal damage to a target, inflict a debuff, eventually stacking up to 5 times and making linear fusion rifles and fusion rifles do up to 40% more damage on that target. So, as a result, two heavy-hitting, heavy exotic weapons, the Sleeper Simulant and the 1000 Voices, have really stood out, and people are utilizing them more and more for damage phase scenarios, killing raid bosses or dungeon bosses, etc. But which one is really the best? Which one of these two weapons should you be using when you're DPSing an enemy? Well, to find out, I conducted some tests. So let's start here with the Sleeper Simulant Linear Fusion Rifle. So this has the intrinsic perk, not even going to bother to pronounce that, but the weapon's laser can overpenetrate enemies and refract on hard surfaces. Now the Sleeper does have an exotic catalyst that makes it charge faster and gives it increased ammo reserves. So the first thing we're going to do is test its DPS against the Templar Vault of Glass raid boss, and how we're doing that is shooting one magazine and then stopping and jumping off the edge to measure just its in-magazine DPS without having to calculate reloads as well. So, importantly, because the Sleeper does shoot so slowly, we did have a couple of people utilize some rapid-fire frame fusions and just have like one shot of that on the target in order to get the damage buff from Deconstruction up to ×5 right away. Now already you can see the fact that I have to explain that is definitely a downside of the Sleeper. You kind of don't want to use it just by itself. You need someone to actually kind of hit the boss a bunch with a different fusion to set up that ×5 bonus. But I digress. Here was the results. So, after doing that magazine, we were able to achieve these damage numbers. Now, I had 340,000, Thick had 342,000. You do see people with 370,000, but those people were the guys with the rapid-fire fusion shots to set things up. So we're not going to calculate that. We're going to use Thick's damage, and in that short time frame of 3.2 seconds to expend the rounds, it gave me 105,000 damage per second. So that's the DPS in a magazine of the Sleeper. It's a little bit rough, but it's going to give you a good idea of where this lands when we now compare it to the other weapon on our list, and that is the 1000 Voices. Now, the 1K Voices is certainly harder to get. It drops from the Last Wish raid as a completely random drop, whereas the Sleeper, you can just buy it in the Tower Exotic Kiosk. So definitely a +1 for the Sleeper in that regard. But the 1000 Voices, now this, again, we're doing DPS within one magazine, and as you can see, in a relatively short period of time, 7.4 seconds is, it's pretty long, but one magazine is quite literally half your ammo. With the 1K, we were capable of doing anywhere between 500 and almost touching 700,000 damage. And you'll see there's a stark contrast where like a lot of us are doing in that 500,000 damage, and then everyone else was in the 600,000 damage. And what we kind of came up with was that the people in the 600,000 damage shot their first shot later. So the thing about the 1K is that you can apply all 5 shots and get Particle Deconstructor all the way up to ×5 with just that first shot, because you're hitting for so many different damage numbers. But again, that first shot seemingly is a little bit wasted because you're doing that, whereas the people with higher damage likely shot their shot after, so the entire shot is influenced by that ×5 debuff. So anyways, that was our theory, but we took one of the higher damage numbers and divided it by how long it took to expend that magazine. We actually got 92,000 damage per second. So I'm actually a little bit surprised by this. the 1K in that one Magazine DPS test actually comes out behind the Sleeper Simulant. But of course, there's a lot of other things you need to factor in. So let's do a more robust test and take a look at just how long it took us to melt the Templar with one and then the other. So starting things off, we have the Sleeper Simulant. So we start the damage phase, we all start shooting, and after around 24 seconds, this boss is dead. Now, that's pretty darn good. Again, we're just using Sleeper Simulant, and our only debuff is particle deconstruction. I actually want to make it clear that you can do even more damage if someone utilizes something like a tether after particle deconstruction is up to ×5. That will actually stack and you can do even more damage. But to keep things consistent, we didn't do that. We just had, a bubble, a well of light buff, and then particle deconstruction. So 24 seconds with the Sleeper Simulant. What about the 1K? Well, it actually achieved its one phase in 21 seconds. And I think that kind of shows you how much reloads can matter. Yes, the Sleeper does more DPS, but having that shallow 3-round magazine means that you're going to be reloading quite a bit. With that being said, the Sleeper also has significantly more reserves. You're actually going to see in my 1K DPS phase, I literally ran out of ammo. Thankfully, my teammates had a few more shots that they could utilize, but I was spent, I was done, and I wasn't with the Sleeper. But with that being said, it's undoubtable that the 1K melted faster. So, if you're looking to use one of these two weapons to absolutely melt bosses, I think it really does seem like the 1000 Voices is the best choice. Especially because, and this is a big factor, crits don't matter at all with the 1K. Whereas with the Sleeper, you better be hitting your headshots or else you're going to do significantly less damage. So that is a huge ease of use bonus for the 1K, certainly. However, if we're going outside of a damage phase, like a limited time window damage phase, we're doing a broader kind of activity, I think the advantage starts to pile up for the Sleeper Simulant, simply having significantly more ammo reserves. Like, you really are going to run out of your 1K ammo pretty darn fast. But in any event, guys, those are the results, and I really predict 1000 Voices plus a good rapid-fire fusion rifle plus the particle deconstruction mod is going to make up the bulk of DPS strategies until the Witch Queen. So guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.